Hello everyone, welcome to the ITLS Academy. Today we are going to discuss the topic that is about the introduction part of paint, pigment and industrial coating. Paint, pigments and the industrial coating. So we are going to see the introduction part. Then after that in the next lecture we are discuss about the constitute of the paint formulation, paint manufacturing, paint application and testing and quality and what is the environmental impact. Simply these pigments and paints and they are used inside, they are also used for the coating, they are also used in the coating of the food product. So we have to industrial coating means that the coating which are used for the coating of the food products. So we have to check the quality of that products in and we are already we are discussing detail about it, but here what we are going to do, we are going to see that introduction part of it. The first is your background. The word paint cover a whole variety of decorative and protective coating that are used to impart a high degree of protection to engineering, building and other materials. So simply the word paint, what does it means? Simply the paint is what? It is a decorative and protective coating. And protective coating. That means that paint is used to decorate the buildings, walls and other material, and along with it, it also used as a protective coating for the different engineering, building and other materials. The range of substrate to which paint are applied include a vast range of material, that is metal, wood, plaster, cement, concrete, paper, leather and the like. Okay, so there are the variety of the substrate in which we apply the paint, and we apply the paint sometime for a decoration purpose and sometime for the protection. Okay, so these materials are metals, wood, plaster, cement, concrete, paper, leather and the most commonly used protective coating in a household and industry are diverse material, that is your lacquers, varnish, plastic resin solution, pigmented liquid, metal powder, shellacs and stains. Okay, now the next is your the paint and coating industry are divided into a two distinct subsector. Okay, if we talk about the paint and the coating industry, then they are divided into a two distinct subsector. One is your architectural and another one is your industrial. Okay, the architectural coating again sub have a subsector and it totally depend upon the performance of the construction sector, and whereas the industrial coating are closely associated to the automotive, major appliance and industrial equipment center. And this architectural coating included the interior and the exterior house paint, primers, sealers, varnishes and stain. And industrial coating included automotive paints, can coating, furniture finishing and road marking paints. Okay, now the next is your worldwide. If we talk about the worldwide, then the paint makers shift 5 billion gal values, whose value in US dollar around 18 billion, and this data is taken in 2002. Okay, so if we talk according to the 2002 data, then the in a worldwide paint makers shipped around 5 billion gallon, and the value of that 5 billion gallon is around US dollar 18 billion. Okay. In North America, paint markers ship around 1.4 billion gallon, US dollar 21.2 billion. European producers sold around 1.7 billion gallon, whose value in US dollar around 23.9 billion. Asian paint makers ship 1.1 billion gallon, valued at US dollar around 14.8 billion, and produces in the rest of the world, including South America, Africa, Middle East, ship around 900 million gallon, whose value is 10.6 billion US dollar. Okay, so this is a worldwide paint maker shipped. Now we are going to discuss about the certain definition for understanding this chapter, because without understanding this definition we cannot understand the chapter. So first of all we are going to discuss about it. The first one is your binder. Okay, now binder is defined as a resinous or a resin forming constitute of a paint that bind together the pigment particle and hold them on a surface. So simply this binder are what they are: a resinous or a resin forming constitute. Either they are a resonance or resin forming constitute of the paint which bind the pigment together, or you can also say that which hold the pigment together on the surface. This is called a binder. The next is your chalking. Chalking is a paint failure that is characterized by a layer of loose pigment powder on the surface of the weathered film. Talking is simply is a paint filler, and it is characterized by a layer of loose pigment powder which are appear on the surface of the weathered film. Chalking is often a desirable filler because of its self-cleaning action. Sometimes chalking is called a desirable filler because it will come under a self-cleaning action. The next is your checking. Slight fine break on the surface of the film that does not extend to the substrate and they are visible to the naked eye. They are called a checking. Checking is simply what? They are a slight line break like this, which are appear on the surface of the film and it is not extend to the surface, and it can be easily visible by our naked eye. That is called a checking. Okay, checking that I already told you about it. Next is your coating. Coating is a generic term of the paint, lacquer, enamel, and the like. They are in the form of liquid composition which is converted to a solid protective, decorative, or functional adherent film after the application as a thin layer. Okay, so simply this coating are what? They are a generic term in case of paint, lacquer, enamel, and like. Okay, if it is present in the liquid form, then its composition is converted into a solid and it act as a protective, decorative, or functional adherent film after the application as a thin layer. Suppose that this is our substrate. Now if we coat a thin layer into it, then it will act as a sometime as a protective layer and sometime as a decorative layer. Cracking. Break that extend from the film surface to the underlying substrate. Okay, sometimes cracking is what? Cracking is a break like that, it will go inside the underlying substrate, then it is called a cracking. Dryer, a composition that accelerate the drying of oil paint, printing ink, or varnish. Dryer are usually metallic composition which are available in both form, that is solid or liquid. Drying oil, an oil which possesses to a marked degree the property of readily taking up oxygen from the air and changing to a relatively hard, tough, elastic substances when exposed to a thin film of air. Enamel. Enamel are defined as a paint that is characterized by the ability so that it will form a especially smooth film. Enamel is come under the category of the paint, but it is characterized as a enamel when it will form a smooth film. Extender, a carbonate or a silicate pigment that has a little hiding power. Okay, this extender are what they are. They are the carbonate or a silicate pigment which have a little hiding power, which in that but which is included in a paint for a other useful purpose. For example, flattening, color dilution, rheology control. It is usually considered as a chemically inert. Okay, extender are what they are, chemically inert. Next is your filler, a pigmented composition for filling the pores or irregularities. Suppose that this is our substrate, and here we do a painting like this. Now here you can see that there is a crack are there. Okay, now this crack are filled with a filler. This is your filler. This is called a filler. Pigment composition for filling the pores or irregularities in the surface preparatory to application of other finishes. Glaze, a very thin coating of a paint product, usually are semi-transparent. This glaze are what? It is a very thin coating of the pigment, and this glaze are usually transparent coating tint with a pigment which is applied on a previously painted surface so that it will produce a decorative effect. Hiding power. The ability of the paint to obscure the underlying color which are varies with the different pigment. There is a difference between the index of the refraction of the vehicle and that of the pigment determine the hiding power. Japan, a varnish yielding hard, glossy, dark colored film. Japans are usually dry by a baking at relatively high temperature. This Japan are what they are, a varnish yielding hard, glossy and dark color film, and they are usually dry by a relatively high temperature. Lacquer, it is a coating which are coating composition which is based on a synthetic thermoplastic film forming material, and it is dissolved in a organic solvent which dry primarily by a solvent evaporation. Typically, lacquer include those based on a nitrocellulose and other cellulose derivatives, vinyl resin, acrylic resin, and the like. Next is your lake. This is a special type of the organic pigment which are very essential for the organic soluble coloring matter which are combined more or less definitely with an inorganic base or carrier. Simply, this lake are characterized by a bright color, and it is a more or less pronounced translucency when made into an oil paint. Paint is classification sometimes employed to a distinguishing pigment which are drying oil coating from a synthetic enamel and lacquers. Pigment, the fine solid particles which are used in the preparation of the paint or printing ink. See, these pigments are what they are used in the preparation of the paint or जो है printing ink, and it is a substitutionally insoluble in the vehicle. Primer, it is the first of the two or more coat of the paint, varnish or the lacquer. Now the next is your shellac. They are orange color resin, and it is used in the secretion of the lac better which are found in great quantities in India or Indochina. Shellac is ordinarily dissolved in a denatured ethyl alcohol. Next is your stain. They are a penetrating composition which change the color of the surface, so usually transparent and leave a particularly no surface film. Thinner, they are a hydrocarbon solvent which is used to reduce the viscosity of the paint. Tinting strength, the relatively capacity of the pigment so that it will impart the color to a white base. Toner is known as a organic pigment that does not contain any inorganic pigment. In toner we only have a organic pigment and it does not contain any inorganic pigment or inorganic carrying base, and it is insoluble in the pure form. Varnish, a liquid composition which is used to convert into a transparent or a translucent solid film after the application as a thin layer. Vehicle, the liquid portion of the paint or a printing ink, anything that is dissolved in a liquid portion of a paint or printing is a part of the vehicle. It is composed of binder and a thinner. So this is all about the definition which are used in this experiment. I hope you will understand, but if you have any query related to this topic, you can ask me in a comment box, or for a further detail, you can follow the ITLS Academy on different platforms, that is Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, WhatsApp and LinkedIn, and subscribe our channel ITLS Academy on YouTube and get our app from a Google Play, or you can also ask your query to the helpline number that are already mentioned in your slide, that is 7080833450, and visit our website www.itlsacademy.com. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe our channel.